On today's show, the Capitals are back in the winning business as they have a successful weekend with wins over Carolina and Los Angeles.
Your Locked On Capitals, your daily podcast on the Washington Capitals. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Well, hello and welcome into this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Dan Holme. I've covered the Capitals for the last 3 seasons for Locked On and various other outlets before that. I'm also the host of the weekly show called The Capitals Minutecast, available wherever you find your podcasts. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. You can start this season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $250 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. So in this edition of Locked On Capitals, we talk about how the Capitals are rolling after they pick up back-to-back wins with a win over Carolina and this afternoon over the Los Angeles Kings. And this is a big thing, as we thought that maybe the wheel was starting to wobble for this team as the Capitals stumbled a bit with back-to-back losses against Dallas and Chicago, but they are back in the winning business, as they say, and it was a really great weekend, and the confidence is restored back in this team. I'll talk about that a little bit later. I will talk about the game this afternoon against the Los Angeles Kings. It did see Pierre-Luc Dubois face his former team, and what kind of game did he have? I'll talk about that later. I'll talk about the big win over the Hurricanes. Listen, these are games of substance. It's not like you are just playing these games that have little to no impact. You take a look at the Capitals in first in the Metro with 48 points, but the Hurricanes in third with 43. So the Capitals answering the bell on the big stage. I'll talk about that. And then in the final segment, I'll talk about Rybinski as he gets his big opportunity with the Caps. But just to get it going here, like I talked about off the top, the confidence is restored back in this team. And you take a look at it, players that are stepping up that maybe necessarily aren't household names. You know, we know who Aliaksei Protas is in the district, right? We know what kind of great player he is, but he is really kind of cementing himself as one of the better players in the NHL. And that's what I like about this year's team is it's not like the years before where it was these marquee names like Ovechkin and Backstrom and Oshie, these kind of players that this is kind of a young team with some veteran big name players as well, really stepping up. And Aliaksei Protas was one of those players as he had a big game in back-to-back games there. And also you take a look at Jakub Vrana as well, really kind of popping off the page and kind of saying, hey, look at how I'm playing out there. So just quite a game by the Capitals against the Kings, but overall quite a weekend for the Capitals as this team is rolling. And ultimately, what are we hoping for? Back-to-back wins. That's great, but let's make it 3 in a row as the Caps prepare to take on the Boston Bruins on Monday. So this team can really kind of start to run away with it. And, like I say, I was a little bit, concerned or worried, I guess you could say, when they dropped Dallas and Chicago, but they got back up on the horse and are back in the winning business with an impressive point percentage of .727. Washington is currently leading the NHL. They've allowed 2 or fewer goals against in 7 of their last 9 games. Defensive play at its finest. So an impressive point percentage of .727. Well, that is quite stunning and speaks volumes about where this Capitals team is. And just taking a look at the standings, like I said, the Capitals 48 points. They lead the Metro, the Panthers, and the Atlantic with 46 points. We take a look over at the Western Conference. Only the Jets have more points with 49, with the Golden Knights in the Pacific with 47, at least at the time that I'm recording this. So quite a thing. And like I say, the Capitals could really kind of run away with this if they play their cards right. And it was quite a game Sunday afternoon, late Sunday afternoon, as the Caps took on the Kings in quite a game. And Pierre-Luc Dubois facing his former team, there had to be a little bit of jitters there and maybe a little bit of like, I'm going to get payback against this team that did me wrong. But I ultimately don't think that that is how Pierre-Luc Dubois is wired. I watched the Break the Ice podcast with Mike Vogel and seems to be a very centered guy, a guy that has, a long history. His father was a hockey coach. He just seems to be very well grounded. And taking a look at the Capitals, have a fantastic record of 15-3-1 whenever PLD records a point. So necessarily something, like I say, that you're not going to see on the back of someone's hockey card is these advanced analytics, but you take a look at it, a 15-3-1 record when PLD records a point. That speaks volumes about what kind of player he is. Again, of course, we would like him to score more goals, but he is contributing in pretty much every other way. And after not being able to cement himself as the top center for the Kings, Dubois has really found his home in Washington. And that's a good feeling because, let's be honest, Capitals fans, there was a lot of questions about what were the Capitals doing. And I know that it's easy to say in hindsight that I never doubted it. I thought it was a good decision right out of the gate. I want to see the receipts because I don't believe it. Many people did not think it was the right idea. I had a lot of questions. When I do this show, they wanted my immediate reaction. And my immediate reaction just based on everything that I had heard was not good. But then you kind of looked into the story a little bit and you saw that it was a mismatch with the Kings. And ultimately, why is he thriving so well with the Capitals? I think he is really big in the locker room, has a great hockey IQ, and has just been absolutely huge for this team. In his first game against his former team, the Kings, he wowed the crowd, I guess I'm going to say, notching 2 primary assists. Again, setting himself up to succeed. And listening to that podcast with Mike Vogel is he learned from his father that it's not necessarily about scoring goals, but it's about helping the team win by getting assists and doing the intangible things sometimes that, of course, scoring goals is a good thing, but just helping the overall good of your team contribute. If it's on assists, if it's, setting yourself up to do great things or being a leader in the locker room, those are all things that can help your team. And as far as PLD is concerned, he is currently on fire, racking up points in 7 out of his last 8 games, making his Washington leading scorer as of December. So he is kind of just taking it, really taking it like a fish to water with the Capitals, and very, very happy about all of it. Because if you take a look at it, he signed that 8-year deal with the Kings. So he is going to be a Capital for quite some time. So it's good to see that has paid off. And if you take a look at it, it was kind of a changing of the guard, if you will, with Nick Backstrom and Evgeny Kuznetsov no longer on the team, that it's really good that the Capitals have 2 players in Strome and PLD to kind of pick up that slack in a lot of ways, a lot better. Just to briefly talk about Kuznetsov, a very hot and cold player. So PLD has definitely been a big improvement. But like I talked about off the top, I think a name that is not a household name outside of the Washington area, I think probably is a bit more now, is Aliaksei Protas, and a guy that has just really found his game this season. Kind of played all over the place, initially slated to be on the third lines, played on the top line, the second line, and has really thrived in any situation. And I think it's just confidence and, shooting first and not, and I think in previous seasons, kind of the notion has been is to shoot it to that guy and hopefully he's got a better angle. Aliaksei Protas is taking the ball and running with it, who continues to impress. He opened the scoring against the Kings with his second goal in as many games, bringing his total of 28 points in just 33 games this season. Quite impressive. This was a guy a couple summers ago, entered into camp, no real high hopes of him making the team, but impressed and has impressed year over year. Of course, this year, taking a couple rungs up on the ladder over last season. Protas has equaled his career high 29 points from last season, is looking at a potential for a breakout year, aiming for 72 points. Aliaksei Protas. Listen, if you are an NHL fan, get to know the name and become familiar with Aliaksei Protas. His size and skating ability, I think, are the big thing. A huge dude on the ice are truly showing, particularly in his chemistry with Dubois and Connor McMichael. And again, we also saw that on the first line. It's not like he is pigeonholed for like playing well with just one line. He has been impressive wherever the Capitals have been putting him. But a spotlight, like I said, this is a multi-tiered success sandwich. Connor McMichael has also made an impact with an assist against the Kings, marking points in consecutive games. Another guy really grown. And we've seen him play on different lines as well. And, his native position is the center position, but has really done well at the wing position. So exciting things for the Capitals. That is for sure. If things keep up like this for Connor McMichael, he is projected to finish the season strong with around 72 points, further boosting the Capitals' offensive firepower. That, my friends, is how they're getting it done. Previous years, it was kind of a one-trick pony. It was Ovechkin. It was a couple other players. They have scoring up and down the lineup. Now, let's also talk here about special teams. The Capitals have been facing challenges with their power play with the absence of Alex Ovechkin, but Jakub Vrana, who's been in and out of the lineup, that Henrik Rybinski was in the lineup for a good stretch there, really stepped up when it mattered. After the Kings tied it up on their power play, Vrana answered quickly, taking a pass from Dubois, who else, and firing a powerful shot to reclaim the lead. A feel-good story. Gotta love what Jakub Vrana is getting it done. That was his second goal in as many games and marked his point streak to 3 games. Plus, it was the Capitals' first power play goal in 3 outings. So quite stunning. And so that is the offense. Stunning. You take a look at the net minding situation. Logan Thompson has been phenomenal all season. Well, he did not disappoint today either, stopping 25 of 26, improving his record to 13-2-2. Quite stunning. You take a look at it, he ranks 10th in the NHL for wins, which is impressive considering every goaltender ahead of him has played at least 21 games. The Capitals, again, a luxury of wealth, as they have a really good option in, number 1 or number 2 or 1A, however you want to look at it. Lindgren, Thompson, lights out. Alex Ovechkin, what's the latest on him? Alex Ovechkin will not be making the trip to Boston. This marks a tough absence as the team heads into their final game before the break. But all things considered, the Capitals are in a good position. Should be markedly better with Alex Ovechkin back in the lineup here real soon. All right, so coming up here after the break, it was a successful weekend, and it was also a successful game against Carolina. I'll break that all down next. Today's episode is sponsored by Prize Picks. If you love sports, you're going to love Prize Picks, the best place to turn your sports knowledge into real money, whether it's hockey, football, or any of your favorite sports. Prize Picks makes it easy to get in on the action. You can now win up to 1,000 times your money on Prize Picks. Plus, this holiday season, they're giving away $30+ million in rewards during a Pickmas and offering 2 free picks in December. And when your pick hits, Prize Picks makes it easy to cash out. You can get your money in as little as 15 minutes. And this week on Prize Picks, I'm eyeing the hockey board looking for Dylan Strome for more than 4 shots on goal and Tom Wilson for more than 1 assist. It's so simple to make my picks and have fun with friends, potentially cashing out fast. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's right, $50 instantly. Prize Picks, run your game. All right, welcome back into this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Dan Holme. You can find me on Twitter. It's at DanCaps218. You can find the show on Twitter. It's at Locked On Caps. So like I said, a successful weekend for the Capitals in general, just knocking it out of the park with, again, a big win over the Kings, a big win over Carolina, And confidence, like I say, is restored back in the team, as it did seem, a bit of a question mark of what is going on with this team, being that they're struggling, or it seemed like they were struggling dropping 2 games. And it's kind of, easy to jump to that conclusion that maybe things are not going that well. But as it turns out, everything was okay in the world of the Capitals. But as far as the game is concerned against Carolina, well, that was another successful outing for the Capitals, which is a good thing. Like I say, oftentimes when you lose those games, you can, your faith can, be questioned a little bit. So the Capitals picking up a big win after dropping 2 is a really good thing. So the game started off a bit slow for the Capitals in general, but things really turned around with Charlie Lindgren standing tall. This was a guy that we found out after the game was sick and actually puked during the game, but made that windmill style save out there. Quite stunning. Now, despite battling through illness, Lindgren's performance was key as the Capitals secure a 3-1 victory. Now, this win was crucial for the Capitals, especially, like I say, after dropping 2, but it's great to see them bounce back. And Charlie Lindgren in particular, well, he was part of the ingredients of the secret sauce in the Capitals' success over the Canes. Now, he was absolutely remarkable in this game and making it a bit difficult for Chris Patrick about who's the guy that's going to get the extension. And I know a lot of people said, well, they should both get the extension. I ultimately don't believe that's going to happen. But in any event, making it interesting with that jaw-dropping cartwheel save. What a moment that was off Tyson Jost in the second period. But all things considered, Lindgren was stellar, just like Logan Thompson was on Sunday. But Lindgren in the game against the Canes saves 26 saves on 27 shots, giving him a stellar save percentage of .963. We know who Lindgren is. We know what he meant to this team last year. Continues to knock it out of the park. And the Capitals, well, they're benefiting. One of the best teams right now, second best team in the NHL, points-wise. Quite stunning. Now, offensive contributions, like I talked about off in the first segment, Aliaksei Protas was killer. Protas got things rolling with his 12th goal of the season just before the first period ended. Coming up clutch, that's what Aliaksei Protas has been doing all season. And he's been on fire, like I say, in this game, racking up 5 points in his last 6 games. And if he keeps things up, we're looking at 69 points this season. Again, that was in the game against Carolina. Those were his statistics then. McMichael also in that game. It's just been lights out. And like I said, a couple summers ago, the Capitals really needed to push all their chips in on McMichael. That has paid dividends, scoring his team-leading 16th goal in the second period and positioning himself for a whopping 41 goals this season. Could you believe it? Quite a talent that the Capitals have, and a guy that we kind of knew the raw potential was there, but we didn't know when it was going to happen. A bit mercurial. You kind of take a look at Henrik Slop here. We thought that was going to happen. Hasn't really happened. So for Connor McMichael to really come into his own has been huge. And both players were involved in a play that led to a John Carlson goal that was unfortunately disallowed to goalie interference. Let's just take a moment of silence for all the goals that have been disallowed this season for John Carlson. It's got to be kind of just a morale buster for him at the end of the day. But third line developments, let's not forget about the challenges and the changes on the third line with Lars Eller sidelined due to illness. This presented an excellent opportunity for Jakub Vrana. And what I'm going to say about Jakub this season, has he been perfect in his opportunities? No, but has stepped up, scoring his 5th goal of the season after a beautiful shot past Katektov. I'll have to work on that one a little bit. But this was Vrana's first goal since November 17th. And, well, not really his fault too much, as we know he's been in and out of the lineup. So hopefully this boosts his confidence moving forward, as we know it did against the Kings as well. So exciting for the Capitals as it seems like things are going. And, one of the things that you really have to give a tip of the hat to is Spencer Carberry constantly tinkering with the lineups. And it's just not like throwing it at the wall and seeing if it sticks. he really knows what works, because when he makes these changes, guess what? The Capitals win back-to-back games, or they win a long stretch of games. Quite stunning what he has been able to pull off. Now, looking forward, the future of Protas, McMichael, and Lapierre come into play, especially with Alex Ovechkin on the mend. What does that mean for who's the odd man out? Well, to kind of talk about the game here briefly against the Kings, Miroshnichenko definitely was not lightning in a bottle, as he was on the ice for some gaffes, multiple gaffes that I think he was the front runner, I think, to have a job, and I thought that maybe Lapierre would be the odd man out. Where does that leave Miro after a stumble in the game against the Kings? I guess it's going to be up to Carberry and his staff to make that decision, but I think that Lapierre could be the odd man out. I also think that Miro could be the odd man is out. So decisions about the roster will need to be made when Ovi returns, and these strong performances during the holiday roster freeze could have major implications. So big questions the Capitals face, and when you take a look at it, Andrew Mangiapane has been playing very good as well, been heating up with points in back-to-back games, and PLD continues to assist in that game with points in 6 of his last 7. So that's what I'm talking about. It's just like, where do you want me to start? I did Locked On NHL, and he's like, who's really standing out? And usually it's like, well, Ovechkin, maybe one other player. It's like, where do you want me to start? This team offensively is just killing it, and there's a lot to be excited about on this year's Capitals team. Again, so a successful weekend. I highlighted the big win over the Kings in this segment here about the Carolina Hurricanes. Big wins for the Capitals. Capitals fans at the water cooler, high five your friends going, hey, how about that Capitals team playing really good? If you're maybe a friend, that is a fan of the Penguins or another team, say, hey, how's your team doing? Hey, maybe you should check out and see how the Capitals are doing. It is a fun time to be a Capitals fan. All right. So coming up here after the break, we're going to talk about a guy that is going to get his big opportunity ostensibly, and that is Henrik Rybinski. After kind of popping off the page in fall camp, will he get his opportunity soon here? I'll discuss next. The NFL playoffs are almost here, and it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can finish this season strong with $250 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. And listen, there is a lot of football that's played on any given Sunday or Monday or Thursday. And there's even going to be some games here that are added on Saturday here. And some of those games you're into. Some of them you're not. Say it's a Commanders or Ravens game, you're into that. But maybe it's a Sunday and your teams aren't playing. Open up the FanDuel app, put a little bit of money on those games. All of a sudden, they got that much more exciting. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, welcome back into this victorious edition of Locked On Capitals. Make sure and subscribe or follow Locked On Capitals on YouTube, and comment and like and subscribe. All that really helps the algorithm and helps grow the channel. I sure do appreciate it. All right, in this next segment here, we're talking about a player that, really kind of popped off the page last fall in training camp as things got going, and that is Henrik Rybinski, and he got the opportunity with Lars Eller being ill right now, that he did get the call-up, did not play yet, but could potentially play on Monday against the Bruins. So kind of an exciting story. I like when these young guys get their opportunity. The Capitals made some emergency roster moves over the weekend, and it led to the first NHL recall of Henrik Rybinski, a guy that you should definitely circle if you are keeping an eye on young talent in the team. As far as like the Hershey Bears, the Stingrays prospects, Rybinski is one of those guys, and he's joining the Caps from the Hershey Bears after Lars Eller was placed on injured reserve due to illness. Now, Unfortunately, it looks like we'll be without Eller for at least a couple of weeks potentially. I guess we don't know. It's an illness. We don't know for sure how long, but right through the holiday break. So I guess it depends remains to be seen. Maybe he'll be back sooner than later. But what we know is that he has had an illness, a bit, ambiguous. We don't know the nature of his illness, but so that is a good opportunity to get a look at Henrik Rybinski. And also, you take a look at it, Alex Ovechkin is out for a stretch of games as well. So it is good to have added depth. Again, I would have liked to see him play in the game against the Kings, but all things considered, the Capitals played very well without him. Now, you take a look at how Miroshnichenko played. What does that mean for Monday night? I guess all eyes will be on the Capitals Monday, and potentially we'll find out if Henrik Rybinski will get his opportunity against the Bruins. Now, even with a roster freeze in effect, the NHL teams are still allowed to bring players up, and the Caps decided to pull the trigger on Rybinski. At only 23 years old, like I said, has been knocking it out of the park for the Bears. 6 goals and 14 assists for a total of 20 points in just 28 games. And that's the big thing. He's made an impact. And let's not forget about his strong preseason, like I talked about, which I think really kind of put his foot in the door for a call-up at some point. I don't think he was necessarily poised to get a call-up, but I think that he impressed and then also followed that up with playing very well for the Hershey Bears. Now, you take a look at it, a tough back-to-back situation, playing the Kings on Sunday, the Bruins on Monday. It could very well present an opportunity for young Rybinski to get his opportunity. And again, I like this. I like to see the young talent get their opportunity, either, even if it's in a game, and maybe it could turn heads. You take a look at the questions that surround this team, and I think there are going to be changes made this season. Team's playing very well. Third line, still a work in progress. You take a look at Miro kind of stumbling and falling a little bit. I think it could be interesting. What is the future of LaPierre? What is the future of Vrana? These kind of players that, how many times are you going to try to retread the tire on Henrik LaPierre? He's shown glimpses of greatness, but definitely a far cry, from, I think, his initial trajectory. So, rounding that back to Rybinski, if he could make the most of his opportunity, maybe that could make it interesting. Maybe, down the road, if one of these players isn't quite where they need to be, that Rybinski could be that guy to step in. Again, a great opportunity for this young guy to turn heads at only 23 years old. Just a really feel-good story. That being patient, it was one of those things that he's like, is it ever going to happen for me? I feel like I'm kind of toiling here, but had a solid mindset and thought to himself, it's going to happen here at some point, and it has. And it'll be interesting to see, depending on, the Capitals had a big win against the Kings. So are they going to try to, change the pH balance a little bit of the team? I guess it's going to be interesting to be seen. But, back-to-back games could definitely open the door for Rybinski and for us as Capitals fans to get a good look at him under the big lights on the big stage against the Bruins. These are moments that I look forward to as a Capitals fan. All right, once again, I want to thank you for joining me on this edition of Locked On Capitals and making it your first listen of the day. For your second listen, find Locked On Fantasy Hockey, become a fantasy hockey expert, and get the edge over your league mates with daily tips from Steal and Flip. Find Locked On Fantasy Hockey on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. All right, once again, I want to thank you for joining me on this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Dan Holme, and I'll talk to you again next time.